It's the Jack and Joe show. It's not just the Jack and Joe show. It's our Premier League 24-25 season preview. Probably the most exciting episode of the whole year, personally. Joe Sansom, how are you?
I'm very well, and I agree. I am very excited for the season as a whole. Really enjoyed Saturday football being back in some capacity in terms of, firstly, the Community Shield, then the Championship, League One, League Two full slate that we had from 12:30 up until the evening, and now excited for Fulham to be back this coming weekend. It's really started to hot up. Everyone's finalising their fancy teams. Everyone's doing their predictions, which we'll come on to, obviously, for ourselves. But yeah, the best time of year, other than the transfer deadline days, of course.
Absolutely. We have so much to discuss today. So let's just dive straight into it. In fact, it might be easier if, when we come to it, you give us the lowdown on Manchester United. If you watch the Community Shield, I only caught the highlights.
Yeah.
And then I'll give the lowdown on, obviously, Hoffenheim and the goings on at Fulham. And then obviously we can back and forth on it, on opinions on rumours and stuff. So where do we start? Where did we last speak? We spoke before the Sevilla game on Jack and Joe. We lost, but I think we can just gloss over that. We made 10 changes and the performance was much better in the second half. Smith-Rowe scored 7 minutes into his debut and looked very good. And then talking in a friendly capacity, we then went to Hoffenheim, played on Saturday, 1-2-0, pretty comfortable. Leno made some really good saves. Fulham were good, but didn't get out of second or third gear. I was disappointed with the intensity of the game. I thought it could have been better given it's like a week good to go. However, there may have been an air of cautiousness about the approach as well, because you don't want to get injured just before the season starts. So yeah, I was fairly pleased with the Hoffenheim game. Did you consume any of the last two friendlies? If so, what did you make of it?
Sevilla, I only watched extended highlights, but from everything that I saw from that game, when it was our second string team, we were in it, potentially second best, or at least they were more clinical than we were. Once we brought on our big hitters, we were by far the better team and really should have scored more goals. But the overall performance, once the team that you would imagine is close to the one that will start at Old Trafford were on the pitch, we were a whole lot better. And that's great to see, because Sevilla are no mugs. They're a very respectable team, above our level on paper right now for sure. So that was good. I then watched the Hoffenheim game. I had the full 90 sort of paused based on the FFC TV situation, and then Hoffenheim were like streaming it on YouTube, so there was a way around that. No comment. But then I was also watching the Community Shield, and yeah, so we'll speak about Man United in a minute. But the Hoffenheim game, similar feelings to you. Think we could have done more. Equally, last friendly before the season starts. No one wants to get injured. Preseason's basically done. Everyone's just ready for the real football to get going the following week. Hoffenheim, no mugs. Again, I think they finished 7th, was it last year in the Bundesliga? Respectable outfit, decent squad on paper, and caused us a few problems. Leno made some really good saves and was one of our best players on the day. But overall, just good to see that we were still creating a decent amount of chances. And a few interesting things with the team. The weirdest thing with the team, or should I say the most, not weird is a harsh way of putting it, but the most contentious point was probably where Andreas Pereira was playing. So he was filling in a role which was far deeper than we've seen him before since joining Fulham. Basically the number 8 role in front of Sasha Lukic and behind Emile Smith-Rowe, who was in the number 10 position. What did you make of Pereira in that position, Jack? Because from what I saw, I liked it when we were in possession. I don't think he had a stormer of a game, as some didn't, but I thought that he was fine. I thought that he was forward-thinking. Out of possession, I wasn't a fan. And the reason for that is not necessarily to do with him. It would be the same if it was Iwobi playing there, if it was Smith-Rowe playing there. Having an attacking player in that position just leaves us very vulnerable, in my opinion.
That was basically the conclusion I came to as well. I thought, as a number 8, okay, he's got good energy. We know that from the way he presses. Therefore, he can get up and down the pitch and help out defensively. That's fine. But I didn't think that it necessarily made the midfield look entirely balanced. In fact, even a holding midfielder in Sasha Lukic, who's basically, he's come in a couple of times for Palhinha and looked good. But as a holding midfielder, he's not the finished article. And Smith-Rowe's also got qualities where he can play out wide and drift inside. I liked it. On paper, it looks super exciting. And I was like, here we go. This is actually going to be incredible. But like you say, in transition, I think we got caught out a couple of times. There was definitely some gaps in that midfield where I was feeling like they could probably exploit. And coming up against opposition in Man United, or any Premier League team with a bit of quality, we could get caught out in those sort of situations. And that is concerning. That obviously just speaks to the fact that we don't have a central defensive midfielder in yet. I do think that if we did have one in, or when we do get one in, that Pereira will probably play in the 10 and Smith-Rowe will play out wide. And, maybe even Pereira will start on the bench and Smith-Rowe might start at the 10 because we have so many good wide options now. But I didn't hate it. I think maybe there needs to be some time to get used to it. However, with 4 days to go until Man United, I just don't know whether that should be the way to go against United, given the fact that we played at United last season. Harrison Reed, Sasha Lukic, Andreas Pereira. I think that needs to be revisited at United away if we want a similar result and to play in a similar way against that United team. It would just give the back four a little bit more protection, and personally for fans of Fulham, a little bit more assurance that we're not going to get completely caught out in transition because, Bruno Fernandes and then their wide players like Diallo or Garnacho, Anthony, Sancho, Rashford, like they could really hurt us in those situations. And the one-on-one defending from Robinson and Tete on either side comes into question, and they'll be put under a lot of pressure. So, nice idea, maybe can be explored throughout the whole season, but to pick and choose your opponents, it can work against Hoffenheim because it was a friendly and it's an experiment. But against Man United, for me, it's too dangerous.
Completely agree. I felt like it was shoehorning Pereira into the team because he didn't want to drop him, and like it was a friendly. That is the time to experiment. Fully get it, but we can't go to Old Trafford opening day, especially from what I saw from them on the break. Just to go over what United were like briefly, I wasn't amazed by them. To me, it wasn't a massive difference from what I saw from them last season, but they were conceding less chances in that one-off game. Early on, it was a City storm. Without too many clear-cut chances, but, all the play in United's third, essentially, not half. Just waiting to pick them off on the counter-attack. They had a few good chances, mostly coming from being on the break. There was a big one that Rashford missed when he hit the post. That was at 0-0. The perfect example, one ball through from, I think it was Fernandes, to, not sure who it was on the right wing. I think potentially Garnacho, who obviously ended up scoring for them, a player that we only know too well, unfortunately. It's just, that is not how you want to be playing against United. Of all teams, they are very, very good on the break. I think if you ask them to dominate possession, I think you'll probably have a bit more joy, if I'm being completely honest. I would much rather have Fernandes standing outside our box with Lukic and Reed in front of him, followed by our back four, than Andreas Pereira bombing forward, losing possession, and then suddenly it's literally Lukic versus the halfway line. Get past him and you're in. And that's really what I can see happening if we played like that, and I don't want that to happen. I get it if we were, let's say we're playing Leicester at home first. A game when we're expecting to dominate proceedings because we are the team that's most likely going for the 3 points, I imagine. And I can't speak for them, but I imagine they would come and they'd be happy to get a point. They've just come up. It would be an away game, their first away game of the season. I imagine after a tough preseason, that's what they'd want. And I think that we'd be going for 3 points. Obviously, we're at home. If we were to set up that way, I get it more. I still wouldn't be totally comfortable with it, and that's Leicester at home rather than United away. So I think that sums up my thoughts. But the Lukic, Reed, Pereira midfield worked really, really well in February, like you say, Jack. If we were to change that to Lukic, Reed, and Smith-Rowe, I'd be happy enough. I don't see Silva not starting Pereira, if I'm being honest, which makes me think that we might be about to see what we saw against Hoffenheim. Another interesting nugget from preseason, and you'll know from being out there, Jack, is that Tete has been the preferred choice at right back, which is, it hasn't been the case since the start of last season, but just before he got injured. So do you think that is partly to do with Silva's choice to go with Adama on the right wing as opposed to Wilson? I feel like Adama is almost just, you leave him up there. He can do what he wants, not as much defensive input as a Wilson would have. And for that reason, you go with the slightly more solid defender as opposed to potentially the better all-round player in Castagna. I mean, it's up for debate who's the better player of the two. I think they're both quite even and have different positive attributes. But do you think that's why?
That's a really fair argument. Of course, even look at last season, you had Castagna right back and then someone like Bobby D. Cordova-Reid at right mid. And then suddenly, in terms of defensive work, that's obviously Bobby Reid coming back and helping to defend. It does point now to, I don't think you'd start Tete on Saturday and then not play him on Friday, because I think it's an experiment that they're like, okay, this is basically how we're going to line up at Old Trafford, which then points to the fact that I think that Adama is going to start, which obviously is, he has to play some sort of part. It's United away. There'll be counter-attacking opportunities, and he is one of the most dangerous players on the counter-attack.
Yeah. And
we saw that last season. I mean, we've said it so many times this preseason. But to start him, I'm okay with. Because actually, what we really lacked at the game at United was taking our chances. We said it last week. We didn't.
Yeah.
We should have scored more. And Traore, just in those early stages of the game where Fulham are looking to get out and they've got an out ball, he can get in behind. You know how fast he is. And he can create, win a corner, whatever, put a cross in the box. Muniz will be on the end of it, maybe. So I think that now Tete is first in the pecking order. And this doesn't really have anything to do with the fact that Castagna had a delayed preseason because he was at the Euros. I genuinely think it's because that link up with Traore makes more sense. Like you say, Tete, better one-on-one defender, I think, in personally. However, it was actually on the pitch last season. Castagna was at right back, and he, I think, took the throw-in that led to our goal with Iwobi. So obviously, Castagna has linked up with Traore in the past, but I think from the start, I think it will be Tete, and barring injury or anything in the week, which pray that doesn't happen. I think it will be that lineup that we saw against Hoffenheim, apart from the fact that Pereira might not start and it will be Harrison Reed. I mean, we're sort of jumping ahead here really, but we are also previewing the game because, hey-ho, it's match day 1 and we're playing on Friday and we're all super excited about it. But I don't know about you, Joe, but I think that might be the way to go. And, whether we play Leicester and we revert back to playing, Wilson or Iwobi on the right and Castagna at right back, or even Traore again. I mean, I don't know, but for me, it wouldn't make much sense to start chopping and changing the right backs week in, week out. I think you stick with one as the number one. Like we saw at the beginning of last season, it was Tete, then he got injured, and it was Castagna, and then Tete couldn't get back in the team. It's super, super intriguing, that debate, because actually, I've always preferred Tete, but I do think Castagna is a very, very, very capable and safe pair of hands.
Yep, agree with you. I mean, Tete, season before last, had an absolute stormer. So when we signed Castagna, everyone thought, us included, he is just the backup for right back and for left back, because let's not forget, he can play there as well. Now that we've obviously got Sessegnon can be the backup for left back, which means we've got 2 left backs. We've got 2 right backs. And for them to fight it out, it's good depth. I think I agree with you that I think that Tete will start just based on him being the first choice against Benfica, then being in the second half against Sevilla, as opposed to Castagna being in the first half, which was almost like the rotated 11. And then, obviously in that final game against Hoffenheim as well. So, I think that it also makes sense to go with the better defender in away games against the top 6, especially opening day. United are going to be well up for it. Let's make no mistake. A Friday night, opening day of the season, with the prospect for both of us, not just for them, for both of us, going top of the league. and having the best
Yeah.
possible start to the season. I would feel more secure to have, if we're playing Adama, to have Tete there. If we're playing Wilson, I honestly think my opinion becomes I'm not too bothered who it is, because I feel that Wilson puts in a little bit more effort defensively than Adama does. I'm also very intrigued about the prospect of, let's say, Harrison Reed comes into the 11, as you say, Jack, and I really want that to happen. I don't think Pereira gets dropped, like we said. So what I would assume would happen in that case, despite what we've seen in pre-season, is that Pereira goes into his normal position in the 10, Emile Smith-Rowe on the left, and then Iwobi on the right. And the reason that I say that is I feel that Iwobi has had a better pre-season than Adama. I think it's close. I think they've both been great. But Iwobi's been more involved in goals and assists overall. And I would just be interested to see if that's how we'd approach it. I also think that for games like this, bringing Adama off the bench with fresh legs is just a fantastic weapon to have in your arsenal. So I don't know. But then again, we're not really giving definitive answers here, just opinions and a bit of debate. Just, having Adama there from the off maybe means that United can't press us as high at the start of the game because they're a bit afraid of that pace in behind that we saw exploit them so many times last season, not just us, but several teams. So that's really interesting to see. I'll be very, very intrigued at, 7:00 on Friday night. To see what that team is, and also to see United's team, because it's a bit of transfer news bubbling with them. It looks like they're getting 2 signings in from Bayern Munich, both defensive signings, De Ligt and Mazraoui, centre back and left back. Hoping from a Fulham perspective that Shaw takes another week to ensure that he's fully recovered, because I think he's a good player. Would like him to sit this one out. And to be honest, he sat out the whole summer anyway, so might as well just continue it for an extra week. I don't know if Mazraoui would come straight into the team. I feel like De Ligt is the sort of name that is so high profile that United might just shove him straight in. I don't know if you agree, Jack, but I feel like it's very risky to do that.
Could have a disaster class. I mean, I don't think they will want to play Johnny Evans opening night.
Agree.
I think Johnny Evans he signed another 1-year deal in the summer, and he's basically just, if everyone else is injured, Johnny Evans comes in. It just so happened he played in the Community Shield as well.
Yeah.
Because Euro's injured. I think Maguire might still be injured. I didn't pay enough attention to the Community Shield on Sunday. I probably should have looked into that. If I see Johnny Evans on the starting 11, I'm thinking, oh boy. But I think Man United, like opening night of the season, Brighton went there 2 seasons ago, won. Obviously, that was a Sunday or a game. Wolves should have got something last season.
Yeah.
Man United have started at home for like 12 or 13 seasons in a row, which is that's unbelievable. I remember they started at home to Leicester on the Friday night. The season we went up 17.
Yeah.
It was 18-19. We played Palace the next day. They won 2-1. Pogba scored a penalty. I seem to remember.
I remember them battering Leeds as well. Early kick-off.
Yes.
5-1. Yeah.
They also beat us 5-1 in 2006-07. So Fulham Man United is a fixture that I always sort of wrote off until about 2 or 3 years ago when we actually started playing really well there. The memories of that game is probably going to overshadow the narrative of this game on Friday. It's going to be like, you can imagine the pre-match build-up. Let's not underestimate Fulham. They're a good team. They came in last season, they won. They'll show the replays of the goals. This is how they can hurt them, blah, blah, blah. This is how they line up. This is how they can hurt them. And it'll be, Ten Hag, new contract, won the FA. No, what do they win? Yeah, FA Cup. Yeah, the narrative's going to be not like, it's not going to be dominated by, is this going to be a new era for Man United? Are they going to get over past woes and whatever? There will be a bit of, but Fulham are in town and they've got good players, and Silva's done a great job.
Can I say, Jack, I absolutely hate this fixture. Like, I hate playing Man United so much. Like, not this one specifically, just in general, it's one of my least favourite. It's up there with Liverpool and City for me.
It's going to be
and Tottenham away always. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, last season showed us it can be done. Like we can go there and win, because ultimately I feel like out of the past 5 or 6 times we've played them, we've outplayed them most games. And we've only got all we deserved once. So I'm really hoping that if we put in the performance again, as we have to, it's not, we have to get it by merit. I just hope that we can get a positive result. And that is, in my eyes, any point. And like a draw, a win, whatever it is, a win would be unbelievable, but a draw I think would be a fantastic result.
Imagine if we won.
Oh my God.
We will come on to score prediction maybe at the end to tear it up. It is worth noting, if Fulham lose, it will be the lowest point. It'll be the lowest. How do I explain it? It's the lowest Fulham have ever been in the Premier League table under Marco Silva.
Yeah.
Which is obviously, after a game, you lose the first game, fair enough. But if we win, it'll be the highest. We'll be top of the league. We were top of the league after the first game in 12-13 with a 5-0 win over Norwich. Of course, Swansea also won 5-0 that day as well, but Fulham were top by alphabetical order or something like that. So let's move on, because yesterday, Joe, I was on a coach from Frankfurt Central to Frankfurt Hahn Airport, which, by the way, don't ever do. Always fly to Stuttgart or the other Frankfurt airport. I was super tired. I was up from 6 a.m. getting 3 trains and then a coach. And I thought, okay, I'm going to just put my head down for 5-10 minutes, get some sleep. I wake up, and what do I see? Ornstein Bomber. Not only Ornstein Bomber, but Joachim Andersen, of all players. We're just getting some sort of band back together. Let's obviously caveat it with the fact that Palace have rejected it and want double, which is fair enough, I think. What do you make of this? Diego Carlos, obviously, that's close, and it's quite close. But they're already trying to sign another centre-back, I see. So what's your take on both players, starting with Anderson?
It's the funniest bomber I've ever seen, because when I read it, I saw exclusive Fulham and Anderson's picture. I was just like, yes, come on, like this is great. And then when I actually read it, I was like, it's like going to the shop, let's say with your mum, for the sake of this, and your mum's like, I'm going to buy you a Coke, and you're like, amazing, what a treat.
I like
and
it.
Then you've only got half the money, and you realise you can't actually buy the Coke, but at least you wanted it and you nearly got it. So it's like, so you haven't got the Coke and you've still got your money in your pocket, which you can spend on maybe something not as good. That's sort of what I'm getting at with this. Terrible analogy that didn't add any value to this at all. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. What I will say, I don't think I tweeted this yesterday, I don't think we bid for Anderson if we haven't been given some sort of encouragement, whether that's from the player, whether that's from Palace, most likely from the player. And we've seen reports come out today that he might be offered a new contract at Palace, which would put 2 and 2 together and make 5. People play the press, people play transfers to get what they want. And if he wants a new contract, this is the perfect way of doing it. I do think that if this is out there, then there is definitely some truth to maybe him being open to coming back to Fulham if we were to agree a deal, which I've got to be honest, that alone does not surprise me. What surprises me is that he'd be open to leaving Palace just because of the project they've got going on there right now. But when you factor in, they've lost Elise, they are potentially losing Gahey to Newcastle, who's obviously Anderson's centre-back partner, who they've had a great partnership over the last few years. Maybe it makes slightly more sense that he's thinking, okay, well, Fulham have got something going, looks pretty good down the road. I think it was quite public that he'd have been open to staying and probably would have stayed had we stayed up under that Park season. I've seen mixed things online. There's a few people that have always sort of not really loved him. There's a few that did, including us. I mean, I wouldn't break the bank. I wouldn't break the bank for him, put it that way. I like him and I think he's an upgrade massively, but I don't think he's worth 40 million. I would question if he's worth 30 million, if I'm being honest.
I think that, it's incredibly fair enough. 28 years old. I didn't even consider the fact that he could just replace Diop. I've always just seen this new right centre-back as just the backup for Diop. Even Carlos could replace Diop. I don't even know why.
I think whoever we bring in, they will replace Diop. is my
Right.
opinion. Just because ultimately Diop ended last season as second choice. And I'm speaking of last season as in when Tosin was still a Fulham player that was open to potentially staying.
That's true.
As soon as that wasn't the case, that as far as Silva was concerned, there wasn't a first or second choice because Tosin didn't matter anymore because Tosin wasn't going to play for Fulham anymore.
I've sort of given my opinion on this earlier, and I want to hear yours. And obviously, I was there. I was in Portugal, Germany. It was great. For observing it from my perspective, I think this has been an extremely positive preseason in basically every aspect, apart from not getting a DM in.
Yeah.
Right? What about you?
I mostly agree.
I'm talking about on the pitch stuff.
I feel like all the on the pitch stuff's been great. A lot of the content that's come out of it, I know this doesn't matter too much, but like it seems like the team's really getting on, really bonding. Silva looks happy. There hasn't been any of this sort of nonsense. I'm not saying that what he's saying is nonsense, but just like the sort of media circus of him complaining and where's the players, even though, again, the players came quite late. But we did a lot of our business under wraps. Sessegnon got the fans back on side, including me. Then we got the big deal in Smith-Rowe. Random one out of nowhere in Cuenca, who had a great debut, it has to be said, against Sevilla.
Yeah.
So that was just really exciting. I think that on the pitch, it looks really good. The results have been good. The performances have been good. We played against high-level opposition for the most part. And when we played against teams that are in a championship, we battered them, which is great because a lot of times that hasn't been the case. When you've seen, for example, Brentford went to Watford, drew 1-1 days after we'd beaten them 6-1. You know, it's great to see. And things like that don't matter immensely, but they do matter a bit because you want to see yourself putting worse teams to the sword when you can. I think that the off-the-pitch stuff does cloud it slightly, and I'm happy. I'm just not delighted with our business. And the reason for that is, as far as I'm concerned, it was clear from June that Palhinha was going to leave the club. And let's be honest, behind the scenes, it might have been clear from even earlier. So I'm gobsmacked that we haven't replaced him. And I don't think that needs to necessarily be a top-level replacement right now, but ultimately we needed a couple of midfielders, even a stopgap of someone that is one for the future, that is a natural successor, something like that. Dare I say a Calvin Phillips on loan? I can't see it being a hard deal to do. Someone that can naturally fit into that position. Silva's got a history of getting players back to their best that have maybe been not in great form or gone out of favour elsewhere. I honestly think we could do a lot worse. And I'm just a bit nervy of going to Old Trafford opening day without a replacement signed up. The centre-back one bothers me, but bothers me less just because I think that Diop can do a job there. I don't know if you agree with that, but I just think that there's two gaps in our team right now, and I want them to be filled ASAP.
I think they will be filled by the time the window shuts. That's fine. But it is amazing how quiet it has gone, especially the days leading up to the season. I mean, it was noisy a couple of weeks ago. Andre and McTominay, like, even you could say what you want. Is McTominay the replacement? Maybe not. But anyway, or there are at least more CDMs that were linked. But no noise since last weekend at all.
Yeah.
Which is obviously interesting. It feels like people are now starting to lose interest with the Andre. Like, even fans are starting to lose interest. There's just been, obviously, the deal is off as it stands. But there's been no real official, proper reporting on that this summer. Yeah, it really has felt like we're clutching at straws when it comes to Andre.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. I'm fairly satisfied though with things. I mean, the thing I'm putting my hat on right now is the fact that 11 has beaten United, barring Tosin. It beat United quite comfortably. So I think if obviously, United will have worked on. They would have looked. In fact, they will be looking at that performance and going, "Here's how we prevent that from happening again." But I do think there is so much joy we can have at United. So much joy. But maybe I'm just feeling way too optimistic. But also, like, I'm not going to come into this season, or anyone's going to come into the season thinking, I think, we're going to be down there. I think we've got a great squad. And that probably should lead us on to our Premier League predictions, because this is the most exciting part. However, we were just talking about Crystal Palace just now, and, Anderson and Gahey, if they lose them, I might have to alter my predictions. I might firmly lock them in on Thursday, but this is what we've got at the moment. Where would you like to start? Do you want to go relegation and then up? Because, we said it last year, we'll say it again this year. If you've said, I think Wolves will finish 12th, and we get loads of Wolves fans thinking, no, I think we'll finish 10th or 9th, makes no difference. Makes zero difference, because it doesn't make a difference. It only makes a difference in the amount of TV revenue you get. Just because you think that Wolves are going to finish 9th and Joe thinks they're going to finish 12th, like, that doesn't make a difference. If I think Fulham are going to finish 10th or we finish 13th, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah,
it doesn't make a difference.
I agree.
So that's why we should concentrate on top 4 or top 6, whatever, and relegation, because anything in between that, it could be anything, and it doesn't really matter. Really, obviously, we want Fulham to finish as high as possible, and you'll want your teams to finish as high as possible. It also is worth mentioning, just going back to pre-season, that a lot of teams in and around us are, the Wolves, the Leicesters, Brentford, a lot of those teams, Everton, they didn't get very good results in pre-season against those sort of European opposition. Everton drew 1-1 to Roma. Leicester lost like 3-0 to Brest, I think. Wolfsburg drew 4-4 with Brentford, which was a bit balmy the other day. But yeah, Nottingham Forest as well. I think they beat Olympiacos 4-3 in a bit of a weird game. Of course, they got Olympiacos. Let's do it, Joe. You want to go 20th and then up? And
I'll
go for it.
I'll go with my bottom 3 first. So 20th up. So in 20th, I put Leicester.
Right.
Few reasons for this. Possible points deduction is one of them, but honestly, even without that, I think I'd be putting them here based on, firstly, their transfer business. Secondly, their pre-season. The fans are miserable right now. They're playing terrible football, according to them, and they're getting beaten heavily. And just, I look at that squad, and don't get me wrong, additions will be made, potentially even before we play them, which will make them a lot stronger. But looking at the squads right now, I think that both other newly promoted sides have done more and have brought in higher quality in more positions. And for that reason, I think that Leicester will be bottom. Add into the fact that there's a new manager there that we don't know how he's going to do at Leicester compared to how he did at Forest in Cooper. There's too many unknowns, and of the knowns that we have, they're not great. So for that reason, I put them bottom.
Okay.
Oh my God. Then in 19th.
Okay.
Or should we do bottom 3 each, or should we do? How do you want to do it? I don't know.
No, you just go. You go all the way up.
I'll go.
That's fine.
I'll go all the way. 19th. Ipswich.
Right.
Pains me to say this one a little bit. It was really like what they've done in their project. This was locked in by me when I saw their pre-season lineup last weekend, and it was brought to my attention by, and every fan base does this. I've seen Fulham fans do it; they're crazy, which is like an Ipswich fan saying this team could get Europe, probably tongue in cheek. But I looked at it and I just looked through the team and I was like, that team's poor, and that team is going up against Liverpool and Man City, and then us in the first 3 games of the season. And I was just thinking, there's a possibility, not a definitive thing, that they could beat us, for example. That they sit on 0 points after 3 games, after getting hammered in a couple of them, City and Liverpool. And I don't know if they can do what they did in the Championship last year, which was basically, even when they were second best, pull a win out of nowhere last minute. I don't think they've got the quality in their squad or the star power to do that. They have made some sensible additions. I really like Johnson on a free transfer from West Ham. Obviously, they've signed Hutchinson permanently. There's a few that don't make huge sense to me. Muric in goal is one of them. That just doesn't make sense to me. I do like the signing of Jacob Greaves, centre back. But again, it's just these signings that I'm thinking, are they enough to keep them up? And right now, I'm not convinced they are. So they've gone 19th. And in the most boring thing of all time, I hate to say it, Jack, I've put Southampton 18th. So I've gone with the 3 that came up. And I know it's immensely boring, but I was looking through, and right now, there's no team that I could have put below them. I think Southampton have had the best summer in terms of who they brought in on paper. Mm-hmm. That's my personal opinion. But at the same time, there's no one that I think will drop in there. The closest, I have to say, to dropping in there for me, and I won't do my mid-table like we said, but my closest dropping in was Brentford. And That's not bias. It's just based on the summer they've had so far. Potentially losing Tony, and I don't think they replaced the goals that come with him. So they would have been my next, but I think they've got way more than these three teams.
Quick word on Fabio Carvalho.
If I speak, we are not getting any ads on this video.
No monetization.
Just absolutely horrendous. No comment.
That news dropped about 15 minutes before kickoff against Hoffenheim, and it was like one of the most bizarre. I thought it was a joke. I thought, oh, that's funny.
Yes,
and then I actually found the whole thing quite hilarious. I can't believe he's done that. Go on, Joe.
I don't want him back in terms of we don't have a place for him in our team. Even we've got players that are better than him in that position, but it's that he's gone there. So we'll leave it there. We do not wish you well, is all I will say on behalf of both of us. Could
you just imagine a situation? Doesn't matter where we are on the table. Brentford away,
him scoring.
Last minute winner from like Carvalho, and then they just start parading the Hey Jude song at the end. I genuinely don't know where my head would be, but I don't think I'd be in the job anymore.
There's nowhere I would rather be less than in a stadium where that has just happened. Anywhere, ever. Mid-table is mid-table. Yeah, for what it's worth, I think that Fulham, at this moment in time, will finish in lower mid-table. And for that, I basically mean anywhere between 11th and 15th. Can't make my mind up on where. Changes depending on the team. I don't think we're pushing top half until I know who our Palhinha replacement is. Simple as that. And same for centre-back. But I think we've got enough to finish in that region. Same as last year and the year before. Top six. And I'll go from 6th up. I am going to go with Newcastle to finish 6th. And that is based on no European football for them next season. I think that they may just have a better year. Yeah. I'm going with, and I still don't really like this, but I'm going with Man United in 5th. I think they'll have a better season. They're doing better business. And I just think that they will do better than they did last year. I've then put Liverpool in 4th with the unknown of Arne Slot. But I think they will do well. And I think this could be very close between them and who I've put in 3rd, which is actually Tottenham. And honestly, part of the reason for Tottenham being there is that I really, really like the signing of Solanke. I think it's something that they've missed, an out-and-out striker since Kane. And I think this is a fantastic signing. And ultimately, Archie Gray, good signing. Exciting one for the future for sure. Probably will have a lot of minutes this season as well. I still like what they're doing there, and I think they'll finish 3rd. Top 2. Really have toed and froed on this, and I've settled with the fact that the Premier League is absolutely boring at the top, and for that reason, I've put Arsenal 2nd, City 1st. and the reason for that is just simply that they are relentless. They are relentless. And I can't back myself to put someone beating them, even if I want them to. Right. So I've put who I actually think rather than who I necessarily want. And a few omissions there is Chelsea nowhere near the top 6. Don't know who their team is. Villa nowhere near the top 6 because I'm unsure about their business so far this summer, even though there's been a lot of it. And the fact that they'll have the Champions League next year as well. I just don't see them having as good a season. So it's almost like Villa and Newcastle I see as reasonably equal. But I put Newcastle in 6th rather than Villa because they have no European football to worry about. So that is my Premier League predictions. Dull as dishwater, I'm afraid, Jack.
It does seem as though, I remember speaking to you about it last week. I was doing my Premier League prediction and I was just yawning. I was just like, this is so boring.
I went to sleep halfway through mine. It's so boring. Like, they are terrible predictions.
Obviously, we love football.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore the game. You do as well. We go week in, week out. We spend thousands of pounds on football.
Yeah.
But at the top level of our English game, it's just insanely easy to predict. That does not mean that what Joe's just said is going to come to fruition.
True.
Fulham could win the Premier League. They could.
They could.
Man City could get relegated. They could. Because the charges might come in. You just never know.
Yes. If the lawyers stop being absolute dossers, then they might go down.
They just need to get on with it, don't they?
No.
The reason I'm sort of spieling this is because our predictions are very, very similar. They're very,
What
very
are
similar.
they exactly the same?
They're not the same, actually. I
Okay,
genuinely
okay.
thought, and by the way, we haven't obviously consulted with each other
No.
before. They're just insanely similar. So I'll rattle through this because I don't want to give a speech for why I think Leicester. I put Leicester 20th.
Okay. Yeah.
I do think, well, obviously, there's a pending points deduction. I don't know when that's going to come in. I thought it would be in by now, but
Same.
hey ho, I don't know where it is. But that's obviously not only the reason. I saw their 11 on Saturday, and I looked at that and went, that's not good. That's not that good. 19th Ipswich. Again, it's exactly the same to you. I like the story. I like it. Kieran McKenna, great guy, great project, exciting. But their biggest signing this summer in terms of financially is on Omari Hutchinson, who is a top-end championship player, hasn't proved it in the Premier League yet. I know he's going to be good. I just know he'll be good in the Prem, but I don't think that Ipswich have enough quality in that team to fend off the likes of the other teams that they'll play against. I just don't think they'll be good enough. Albeit they'll be quite exciting to watch. They'll probably get a decent result against someone at some point in terms of like a big team, maybe. And 18th, Southampton. And the only reason I say this is I agree with you. They've had the better window out of the three. They've signed some quite exciting players. But Joe, it's the style of play. I think they'll just completely get
Russell Martin ball could go fantastically. It could also be so bad that they can see the most goals in Premier League history.
And that is why I'm saying they'll go down, is because in recent history of when we've seen teams play out from the back in this sort of way, they have been punished.
Yeah.
Even Leeds, when they stayed up, they conceded so many goals. I mean, it did work, but Leeds had a lot of firepower. The way they played was completely different to Russell Martin, of course. So it's a 3 up that go back down, in my opinion. And again, I'm beginning to start to fall asleep. I'll just rattle through. I'll give no explanation. Brentford will just survive at 17th, in my opinion. Forest in 16th, Everton in 15th. Regardless of points deduction, again, maybe they'll get enough points. That Sean Dyche is very good. 14th, Brighton. I think they'll fall off. I don't think the new manager. I think he might come good, but I just think there will be a drop off in results and overall season performance. Joao Pedro, they'll rely on a lot for goals. Still got Danny Welbeck. They lost Pascal Gross. I'm a little bit shaky, but obviously I don't think they'll go down. They've got so much quality. 13th, AFC Bournemouth. I've actually made some decent signings. They've lost Solanke. If they can get a replacement in, they'll be fine. Iriola's style of play is really good, and I think they just have enough. They'll be good. 12th, Wolves. Now, interesting. Wolves actually have piqued my interest a little bit because of what Gary O'Neill's comments last week. Not last week. At the weekend, he said he was really concerned about his performance levels of the team in their last friendly. But I think they've got some really good players, even though they've lost Neto, which is annoying for many reasons. I think they'll be fine. I think they've got a good squad. 11th, Palace. Could drop, though, depending on what happens in the rest of the window. But if they've still got Eze, Mateta's starting to look like himself. Adam Wharton's one of the best midfielders, I think, of the future, if not right now in the Premier League. I just wish he got more minutes at the Euros, hey-ho. 10th, Fulham. I think we'll finish top half. I think we've got enough going forward.
That'd be
Obviously,
great.
it's caveated by the fact that we need to sign a CDM. We need to sign another centre-back, and we need a few more bits and bobs. I think Smith-Rowe is going to be good. My one concern about Fulham this season, taking away from players we haven't got in yet, is Muniz. Is there enough goals? Because remember the early parts of last season where we just struggled to score goals?
Jack, I really don't I don't want to segue onto this right now, but
we could come on to
I completely agree with you in terms of Smith-Rowe is a fantastic signing for goals. Improves whether he plays in the 10, whether he plays on the wing, he will get more goals than Willian or Pereira did last year because the total of them in the league was 5. Do you know what I mean? I'm expecting Smith-Rowe to at least match that tally on his own, but I would be expecting him to exceed it. I think that you are right. Muniz and Jimenez, good players. Muniz in particular had a fantastic spell last season that we don't think was a purple patch, but let's face it, it was better than normal. And I agree with you. And I would like us to sign another forward. I'm not saying it has to be a striker, but another goal-scoring forward, whether they play on the wing, whether they are a striker. Agree with you, because I think to push on, that's what we need.
I agree. I obviously, I really want Muniz to do well. He's one of my favourites. He's fantastic. Love his attitude. Love the way since he's been at the club, he loves it. He's embraced it. But it does concern me. However, Fulham do have a lot of goals from all over the park. Pereira needs to score more this season. Smith-Rowe needs to score. Iwobi needs to score. Wilson needs to score. Adama needs to score or create. There's a question about his end product, but I think it is better. That goal against Hoffenheim was really good. And yeah, Fulham, I'd love Sessegnon to get a few. I'd love him to get a few. Just Fox in the box if he plays a little bit higher up in certain situations. 9th West Ham, brilliant business. In fact, I might even put them higher than what I might change it around a little bit. 8th Chelsea, no comment. I just don't want to talk about them. Aston Villa 7th. I actually genuinely think they'll be all right despite being in the Scampian Peas. I think they'll actually be good. I mean, Emery's such a good manager. He's one of the best managers in the Premier League. 6th Newcastle. When you started rattling off your 6, I was thinking, are we actually going to have the exact same? But we actually don't. But 6th Newcastle, no European football. They'll go well. And I think, Eddie Howe's a great manager. And if they get Isak firing, Bruno Guimaraes stays, they have a good team. I'm quite jealous. I love their team a little bit. 5th, I'd put Spurs. I just think that I love the signing of Solanke. I just think Spurs. Do you know what? Most of this is just going to be off it's going to be repetitive narratives that we've seen over and over again. Same conversations, same post-match coverage, same post-match analysis. It's just going to be Spurs lose a game to Wolves or Fulham or whatever, and it's going to be but why does this keep happening? Why does this keep happening? And this is more of a. I know this is not very that wasn't very analytical from myself, but I just genuinely think that Tottenham, albeit they started so well last season and tailed off, I think it'll be very, very similar. I think Ange Ball is getting to a point now where people are starting to figure it out a little bit more. It's a little bit easier to play against. Their line is so high, they get caught out so many times. 5th, sorry, that was 5th, Tottenham. 4th, Manchester United. This is Manchester United we're talking about. This is what they're going to be saying after Fulham win on Friday night. I just think it's just going to be one of those. They'll be good, but they'll lose. Obviously, finishing 4th is a good achievement for Man United in this current climate. But they'll lose a few games. They'll lose away at Everton or something like that, and there'll be that same old hour-long post-match analysis. This is Man United we're talking about. It's not right. Something's got to change. Glazers. It's just it's what do you expect? You're not going to win the Premier League. What do you expect? So the same old conversations are going to happen because United are not going to win the league. They're going to lose games that they should win, or they're playing teams that they should beat. Therefore, the narratives is going to be. It annoys me because it's just boring. It's just boring.
Yeah.
3rd, Liverpool. I actually think they'll do all right on this slot. I think they've got enough quality, enough players. You've got Trent on the wing. At right back, crossing in balls. You've got Salah. You've got Nunes. There's so many goals in there. Diaz as well. 2nd, City. And 1st, Arsenal. Okay. Just because, why not? I don't want to sit here and talk about City winning the league again. I don't really want Arsenal to win the league either. I was on the tube with all those Arsenal fans yesterday after the Lyon game, and I was just thinking, God, I'm so glad we literally denied you the title last season. In slightly concerning news, my laptop is beginning to die and I can't charge it because I've got to plug in the microphone as well, so it doesn't actually charge up. So we could wrap up. There is just a couple of things I want to talk about still.
Absolutely.
First of all, Jay Stansfield.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on him right now?
My opinion on that whole situation is I've been surprised he hasn't played more in pre-season, and I think it's quite telling that he hasn't in terms of Silva's view on his role in the team might have now shifted. And I think that if this is the case, then he should be going out on loan. I don't want to sell him.
No.
And I definitely don't want him to be going to League One. I want him to be going to the Championship on loan like he did last year. I saw things about Stoke.
Yeah.
That'd be good for me. That'd be good. If it's somewhere where he can start in the Championship, where ideally in a team that's slightly higher performing than Birmingham were last year, the experience is experience, goal scorer. So wherever, but Stoke would be good in my eyes.
Absolutely, 100% agree. Stoke could be a good move for him. He'll be well liked there. He scored a great goal at Stoke last season for Birmingham.
Yeah.
Okay, let's quickly do our championship. Who's going down, Joe? We played one match day.
We played one match day, and I've changed it to Plymouth bottom because I absolutely despise what I saw from them, and it might change, but it might not. 23rd pains me to say it, because my granddad is a keen supporter of theirs, but Derby.
Right.
They've been in my bottom three the whole time. I've just literally rejigged these three from the other day. And QPR 22nd.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Martín de Fuentes.
I think it would be a surprise. I had them in 22nd from before Madge's hat trick, and I'm keeping them there now. And to be honest, I think it was mostly bias that had me in there initially. And then I saw it, and I'm like, okay, I've got to keep them in there for the video, 100%.
I put QPR on the playoffs a couple of years ago, I remember.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, I don't expect them to go down, but it's my prediction. Let's see what happens. There wasn't anyone that I thought definitely as that third slot, because I think Oxford will be fine, for example, and Portsmouth.
Right.
Top six from sixth up. I've got Borough in sixth.
Okay.
I think they'll sneak in. I've got Sunderland in fifth. I've got Burnley in fourth. I think that Parker will do it unspectacularly. I don't know win the playoffs, by the way, but I think they'll get fourth. I've got Sheffield United in third.
Okay.
I've got Luton in second, and I've got Leeds in first. And I think that the playoff winners, after years of hurt, will be Sunderland.
Sunderland.
And you know what? I would really like that.
Well, they started well. 2-0 win at Cardiff.
Great win.
Pretty good from what I saw. That's really interesting. I mean, that's really interesting. I locked this in. I made a point of it last year. I do it this year. I locked this in before I listened to NTC 20, their 1-24s. I did not want to be influenced by their expertise at all. I wanted my own opinion. So I locked it in before even listening to the podcast. So after one match day, I'm not too upset with this prediction either. Derby, I've got bottom. 23rd, I've got Plymouth, which I think, oh God, I feel sorry because Rooney's one of he was my hero growing up. It's really sad to see him sort of not work out. I mean, obviously it's only been one game, bloody hell, but
it wasn't just losing. It was so bad.
It was
poor. Like, can you even repair this? You know?
Yeah, I'm a bit upset about the whole situation, really. But Portsmouth 22nd, which is actually a bit of a rogue shout. A lot of people have backed them to stay up. And in fact, the performance against Leeds was pretty good. I mean, they probably should have lost it in the last minute, but what a brave performance. Yeah. But I do have them going down. And I don't know if there's just enough in that squad, really. I don't think there's enough championship quality. Yeah. Not getting Abu Kamara back, because he's gone back to Norwich now, is quite an upsetting conclusion to that. Obviously, you know, when you have a lone player just so well in League One, then you go up to the Championship, you think, oh, surely he'll do a job in the Championship. But they can't sign him because Norwich are quite keen on keeping him, which is obviously fair enough. It's their player. Top six, Middlesbrough in sixth, like you. I think they're good. Yep. I'm all aboard, of course, the Isaiah Jones train. I think they were good against Swansea as well. I was impressed. Fifth, West Brom. Now, Josh Major, as the commentator said.
Yeah,
I'm choo all aboard Carlos Corberan's train. I think Corberan is probably the best asset they have at the club. He's a super manager. I don't think there's I mean, obviously, Mikey Johnson last season was so good for them on the second half of the season from Celtic. They didn't get him back, but they've done some nice business. Brandon Thomas Asante obviously gone to Coventry, and they got in Devante Cole from Barnsley. I'm a big fan of Devante Cole, so I'm happy with that. But Madger's starting well. Good to see. Former Fulham. Burnley in fourth as well. And I actually put them in brackets as playoff losers. I cannot wait to watch Luton Burnley tonight because I will be hate watching with so much passion. I really want Luton to win. I would love to see how Burnley line up and how they play. By the way, those clips of Vincent Kompany and the Burnley...
Insane.
Leroy Insane. Why is he shouting so much? Imagine if he did that to Paulinho. Paulinho will
I need to see Kompany getting absolutely crunched, because he cannot be speaking to someone else like that. Ridiculous.
It was really it was almost personal. I think it was Goodmanson, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was so personal. Yeah, it was awful.
It was not a good look. And no, well, they went down and he's managed to get the Bayern job. So interesting. Where were we? Okay, third, Coventry. Love Coventry. Love their team. Mason Clark, great signing. Brandon Thomas Asante, great signing. They've still got Ellis Sims and they've still got Haji Wright. They lost Callum O'Hare, but I don't think that's going to make too much of a difference. They still have Ben Sheaf. He's still injured, but they have Ben Sheaf. I mean, I'm super excited. They did lose to Stoke. I was upset by that. However, it's only one game of 46. Top two, got the same as you. Luton second, Leeds first. I'm really excited about Luton this season because I mean, it was mentioned on the podcast. I will make the same point, NTT 20 podcast. They'd never really been touted as favourites to go up before. And then they're not obviously favourites to win the league, but they are one of the favourites to go up. So I would be really interested to see what happens. My laptop is increasingly about to die. And Leeds, they just have the best squad. They'll win the league, although they'll make it hard work for themselves because they drew 3-3 with Portsmouth and defensively didn't look great. So who knows? But that's our predictions. We've almost gone for an hour. Joe, the final prediction we have to make. Manchester United away. Obviously, my hot take was that we were going to beat them last season. We did. I got the score prediction right. First on match of the day, correct. I'm scared about making the prediction this time, but I want yours first.
I have got a vision. It's not a win. I do want to caveat it's not a win, but I think it's a great result. It is a late Alex Iwobi equaliser in a 2-2 draw.
Desmond.
And the headlines are Iwobi strikes again, sort of thing. Late equaliser, curls in. It's a great result if we get that. 2-2.
I've had a score prediction in my head basically the whole summer, and I'm just going to stick with it. 1-1.
Okay, that'd be a great
And
result.
I think we'll take the lead and drop the 2 points, which is quite sad.
Okay.
And I think Smith-Rowe will score for Fulham again.
Fab.
And
great
I think
start.
whether it be a penalty, that would be, I could see it, VAR penalty. The referee's gone over to the screen, the big roar from Old Trafford. You know what's going to happen. They're going to give it.
Fernandes
it won't be
holding
super
the
late
ball
on.
before they even go over to the screen, sort of thing. Yeah.
I can already see the vision. I can already see it happening. I would take a 1-1 draw. I'd take any point from this. I wouldn't take a point if we were 3-0 up or 2-0 up and we ended up drawing the game 2-2. However, I think that's a positive start. And I said it on the podcast on the Thursday Club. I think we'll go unbeaten until we play Man City away.
Well, I really hope you're right, because that would be a fantastic start to the season. Fantastic.
One last question. How are you feeling about Fulham?
Cautiously optimistic, but I should caveat that is with the expectation that we've still got work to do in the window, and I think that we will get it done. I like the names that we've been linked with. I like that we're showing ambition, I would say, in our targets. And I'm expecting a high quality defensive midfielder and centre back. And if we do that, I honestly back us to do better than we did last season. I don't know about season 1 of the Premier League under Silva in terms of 10th place. I don't know if we can exceed that, but I would love to see us try and at least match it. And I think we've got the makings of a really good team.
I'm just excited. I'm excited by the prospect. I'm excited by Silva. I'm excited by the team. I'm excited by my job. I mean, this is just wonderful stuff. I can't wait. It's going to be great. Hopefully it'll be great. If we don't win in our opening 3, I will be upset. Well, I think everyone will be upset. Joe, my laptop is on red alert. But we've rattled for an hour, and we said we'd basically go no more than an hour. So thank you so much for being here. And we will speak. Oh, my word. We'll just speak after Man United.
Good God. Yeah. If you're going, I'm not. Enjoy it. Have a fantastic time. Make loads of noise. If you're watching at home like me, enjoy it as well. Jack, bring us home the points. Thanks for the video. And thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for watching. The support on Jack and Joe so far. We've made 2 episodes. Has been insane. And
great.
we just want to keep going. Obviously, we're not going anywhere unless we lose in the last minute to Man United, and my head will be not here. It will be somewhere else. Final point, which I've now forgotten, which is a shame. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for being here. And that was it. I hope Sky give us a fair crack on Friday night, because I know Neville will obviously be fronting it with Carragher. Neville's an obviously United fan. They need to give Fulham the respect. We did beat them, by the way, last time we came there. Let's not forget that. Give us the respect. I've taped the game. I'm going to watch the whole build-up and post-match. Went back on Sunday, and if there's not enough Fulham, I can't really do anything about it, but I'll be not happy.
We will complain next week on this video.
Yeah, we'll complain, and no one from Sky will see it, and it will be a complete waste of energy.
It will make zero difference, but at least we've got it off our chest.
That's it. You have City win the league. I have Arsenal. We'll see in May. It might be Fulham. It could be Fulham. It probably will be Fulham. Thanks so much for watching, and for the first big time this season, come on, Fulham.